And then I'm gonna go ahead and go to Twitch right now just to see like if people can hear us. Or actually, yeah, let's do that. I guess I'll also update on Twitter that we are starting.
Sounds good. I'll retweet as well.
Cool. All right. I guess we can start. And then if there are questions from anybody, um, we can adjust on the fly.
Yeah, sounds good.
So yeah, I think so for those of you who are joining us, for the first time, I have Testacular. Is the correct pronunciation Curran or Curran?
Curran, actually.
Curran. Okay, so we have Curran here on with me on Discord, and we're gonna go over his top 8 run from last week. I think notably this run is unique in the sense. Well, I guess not that unique, um, because Delver is really popular, but it's unique for us in that he, went 4-0 against Blue Red Delver along the way to the top 8, and then played a list essentially 74 75 out of the 75 that I was playing last week, and then leading up to the challenge. Anything you want to add before we get started, Curran?
Um, I don't think so. Just notably that, we had, we're on the two mind break trap in the sideboard, and set the like one prompt rotation, one Archon, and Valor's Reach. But other than that, yeah, I don't really think I have anything to add. I'm happy to jump right in.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. I think most people want to, and then we have time. Maybe we'll play a league or something. I don't know how much time you have, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we'll see how it goes, I guess.
All right, well, let's check out game one, round one, then the first of the blue red delver.
Hmm.
So I believe we kept the seven here,
Hmm.
which was pretty average, I guess.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's not bad. We have lands and spells. I mean, which is all you really want. And especially if you're playing as blue red, like if you get untapped with Reclaimer, the game is probably just over. I know some blue players are a little bit shocked by that because that sounds like we're playing a Dread Horde, right? But in some matches, Reclaimer is basically Dread Horde. Also, notably, one thing, Kern, is I would have main phase Fetch Bayou, by the way, to play around removal.
Oh, right, yeah, so I can just do the activation right off the bat in the face of Bolt, basically.
Exactly. Right here, the thing is, like, if they don't do anything in pass and you fetch end step, they can bolt in response. So something to keep in mind. Luckily, they didn't seem to have it, but we're going forward, I guess.
So I guess I just committed a lot to the board here just because we had the Curran.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. There's no sweepers game one, so we have that strategic advantage. To we have that strategic advantage. So
I grab the bog with the floating mana just to kind of put the DRC back to.
yeah, that's reasonable. Like we, if they want to waste us, we still can just do things next turn. How many cards in the graveyard did they have?
Currently three.
No, no. Before you we bogged them. Okay, so I think that was a good.
Five cards it looked like.
Yeah, I think that was a valuable bog.
Chain Lightning Heritage Druid, which doesn't really matter.
Not with the cradle active, no. I mean, in my opinion, actually, there I probably would have fired off the glimpse to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I guess what I'm doing here is probably just holding up Once Upon a Time out of turn plus Cradle, like protecting Cradle from Wasteland, before like going in for it next turn.
I mean, that's reasonable. I feel like we, just so we can play around the wasteland, like because they can upkeep us wasteland, right? I probably just fire off the glimpse there just because it's you're guaranteed to draw two and probably draw four or six, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I ended up replacing the Arbor in the face of the Bull.
Yeah, that was a big misplay from our opponent. Well, I guess they wanted to waste us.
What am I gonna grab here?
Feel like it's got to be a land. Well, actually, endurance. Let me see. We don't have. Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a land.
Well, I grabbed Endurance Spirit.
Because we're gonna expect them to waste us here.
Oh, I see why I did that. Because I pitched a glimpse so that I could use the Collector Rupee to block the 1/1.
Right, 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 right.
Okay, well, they have the Force of Will anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the two things so far I probably would have done differently. One was, I mean, pretty straightforward. The main phase fetch value so that it gives you all the options. And then the second thing I think I would have done differently is the turn that you played the collective. I probably would have just fired off the glimpse then.
Makes sense.
Looks like Murktide is coming down. Oh, did you just? Oh, okay, I see what happened. They played. They held up Wasteland.
Yeah, I couldn't really do it in the face of Wasteland. Yeah, I think I. Yeah, This is the game I definitely lose here.
Yeah, I think this game is actually winnable too. If we had made the other play.
Yeah, with the glimpse.
Yeah, because ended up happening was you pitch one glimpse to the endurance, and the other one got stranded, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, that's why we play the game, though, right?
exactly, exactly. All right, well, let's get to game two.
It's okay. Everybody loves a good redemption arc, right?
Exactly. This hand's kind of slow, but I liked the multiple endurances, and I also liked having the three lands right off the bat. Just I like having mana in this matchup.
For sure. I'd be tempted to mull, but I think it's reasonable to keep. And then here you just slam Visionary, yeah. We're just curving out here more or less.
You ever feel a brainstorm? So yeah, I kind of took a turn to develop Anna and another visionary here,
Mm-hmm.
and now we just have uncounterable endurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember the turn exactly. Usually I don't really play around days, but that's me. Um, but I think your line is like fine. I might have been tempted to just jam endurance, especially since we had the second one. But I tend to not really respect days unless I absolutely cannot afford to. But I also play kind of aggressively. Here I think we were in a good spot. Like anytime you have double endurance, the game is, I wouldn't say it's over, but they're in a lot of trouble.
Use glimpse to get the force of will out, and now I can resolve third endurance.
Yeah, this is just like backbreaking for our opponent. Something I would have considered there is if they blocked weird, I might have flashed in the endurance and you just get the full blowout.
Yeah, I guess there was no reason to really main phase that one, but my opponent ended up scooping here. This is the end of the game. So
Yeah, I think you played that pretty well. I think the only thing I would have done differently was like, there's no real reason to main phase it, especially if they play something like submerge. You can shuffle that back as well, so that they're further from delirium and further from murktide.
yeah, yeah.
Also, sanctuary would be online pretty soon.
Another just kind of stellar hand here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hitting land drops is just broken. I don't really understand the list that like really skimp on lands. I mean, I guess you're better against the non-wasteland decks, but when this is the most popular deck, I think we rather be safe than sorry. So I think the one thing I will point out here is if you know for sure you're gonna attack with the shepherd and play the visionary, I probably just second main phase the visionary.
Okay, yeah, just for proper. Yeah, that makes sense.
The only reason why is because then they have to make the decision if they have like a submerge or something, whether they want to hit the visionary or wait until for something else that we play. I know I'm nitpicking. Sorry.
No, no, it's okay. It's all good. I'm kind of like doing it again anyway. Okay, yeah. So I didn't respect days here. I just wanted to get the endurance down to make sure that we weren't going to get Murktide in here this next turn.
Little. This one kind of matters a little bit. What I like to do in this situation a lot is they will be tempted to waste us during combat, and you can flash in the endurance. So what that does is it keeps them off Murktide and Delirium a little bit longer, right?
True, yeah, because you get the Wasteland in that regard.
Right, because exactly you hit the wasteland as well in terms of like nuking their yard. Hey Dustin, we're reviewing Curran's top 8 run from last week. So notably, he played against Blue Red Delver 4 times and won all 4 matches. Spoiler. No, that's smart. You see, here you essentially got the extra fetch out of it, similar to how we would have got that for the wasteland, right?
Right, exactly, exactly.
So really heads up play right there. I think I would have been tempted to fire off the glimpse there, but that's me.
Yeah, I figure with the BFF team though, we're kind of threatening like a bunch of draws is, so it didn't seem super necessary. And I'm kind of thinking hold up Arbor with this last fetch land anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of removal.
Also, not the correct play by our opponent there. They should hit the waterwood, in my opinion. Also,
Yeah,
quick thing. I probably main phase the snuff out there. I don't think there's a reason to end step that there.
okay,
Um, but yeah, otherwise played pretty well.
sweet. Yeah, so that was the first blue red delver in the first round of the thing.
Uh huh. But you know why I'm saying to main phase the snuff out, right? Because I don't think that you get penalized in any way.
Yeah, well, like they only had one card left in hand. I Is there a way I get punished by doing it on their turn?
Um, what if you do it on our turn? It just gives more options because if we don't have blanks, if we just don't draw anything relevant, we can actually just be more mana efficient with the murderous cut, right? Instead of having to play the snuff out.
Okay.
What it does is it opens up the line so that we can actually hard cast the snuff out and um, preserve life if need be, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. So this next match was up against Blue Red Delverless Delver.
Mm-hmm. It's really a mid range deck, to be honest.
Hold on. I saw seven there that just instantly went back. I want to look at it again.
Yeah, you can't keep
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cannot.
That's basically a mortal five already.
All right. This hand was better, I think. Probably put back the arbor here.
I think in this situation, I'd probably put back the oof.
Okay. I kind of wanted to keep it just in case it was like randomly relevant for the matchup, but
Yeah, I guess it depends if you know what they're on. Our opponent is rarely on anything besides blue red. Isaac.
yeah, yeah, I didn't really know that when I was playing the challenge that morning, this morning's deck.
That's fair. The other reason why I put the oof back is in the on average it tends to be a little bit worse, and we kind of want in case we don't hit a land off the once upon a time, the arbor to be the natural land drop. So here a little bit punished actually by that. Because otherwise, yeah, we could have played the second land. The top deck land here is nice. Oof. So heads up play by the right there. By the way, more than anything else, we just need to hit land drops with this deck. So I would have made the same play there with the Once Upon a Time.
Definitely, yeah, I feel like that was important.
I feel like that's a line that is not utilized enough by a lot of elf pilots. Actually, like they wait until it's too late. We you need to hit land drops now, if that makes sense.
Okay, I guess this is me trying to get a
Yeah, it seems like you're just trying to bait out force there, right?
Yeah, I remember this game. This is horrible.
I think this game probably plays out kind of differently if we kept the land over the oof. Because I think the thing
Yeah.
that really lost us the game was the visionary game days. Wow, I wonder if they just drew that force because
Yeah, I have no idea where that was, honestly.
I'd be because I if I were them I'd be tempted to force the glimpse, but so I got a question from Dustin. If I have paper elves these days, my list is updated until I picked up during Black Friday last Thanksgiving. Dustin, what is it called? The endurance is the Allosaur Shepherds. So it is not updated to the fullest yet because I don't have Basejus, which has some other cascading effects, right? Because I don't have Basejus, that also means that I cannot play Snuff Out at the moment. Well, I could. It's just that there's a weakness.
Yeah. Well, here's game two against Overlook. Okay, yeah, I remember this. So, what's gonna happen here, and I probably wouldn't advise this in the future, but what I see here is a thirst kill. So, that's what I'm trying to set up here.
Is a what?
It's a thirst kill, meaning that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go wide here and then just use Shepherd on turn three to win.
Okay, so keep in mind, I think yeah, at this point because they didn't respond to the visionary on the stack, I would assume they have end of festivities. I probably would have stopped that visionary, and
Yeah,
I think we're gonna get blown
the
out here if that's the case.
yeah, the other thing here that why I went with this line is because that it looks like Wasteland is completely disrupt is a great way to disrupt me, and I'm hoping that the player plays to just wasting this cradle so I can just dump other cradle and win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
However, we just didn't no cantrip required. They just had the rough.
yeah, I think one of the things a lot of elk players need to do post sport is to recognize when the opponent has a potential sweeper, and a big indicator of that is when they don't do anything turn one.
Drawing a million cards over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get the endurance down before a potential force of will.
Yeah, that makes. Ooh.
Met by days.
Yeah, it's probably just over from here, right? 7-2 cards.
Yeah, and I just scooped it up here.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think we're probably just dead, to be honest. 6 cards in hand, they probably have Force of Will.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we top deck, like, we can potentially. Yeah, we have to top. I don't know what your next card would have been, but technically we could have taken it off the board, but I think we're pretty behind.
So that was the one match loss in the Swiss to the Delverless Delver build. And then we got a little bit of reprieve here with a Ink Cats matchup.
It's always nice to get that that restart, right? Like so to speak.
Exactly.
There's nothing like an ace eight cast opponent to essentially level set you, so to speak. And then I like the clean sequencing there too, with the playing the Bayou.
Yeah. These chalices are really good.
So I think I would have just um, pitched the four basic actually because in case we draw the grist.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess virtual rangers is there to mitigate that, but that's a completely fair
For the
point.
most part, the stock list doesn't play Wasteland, and we already have a Cradle anyways. That as a Wasteland target, and then yeah, that looks good. Heads up play with the Heritage off the forest before the glimpse to net the extra mana. I feel like a lot of elf players from when I played the mirror, the way they tap with Cradle is like really sloppy sometimes, to put it best.
Oh yeah, I guess we just draw the hoof instead.
Yeah, I think the only thing when we have a Shepherd out, okay, they have the Aurora. So why did you I forget, does Aurora put on top of bounce or put on top of library? Bounce, right?
It puts it back into my hand.
Okay, I don't think you needed to. You didn't. You just let it resolve, right? Or did you bounce with the symbiote?
Oh, what I did was I tapped for 3 mana off Shepherd, Heritage, and Visionary
Uh huh.
to float it in response to the Automora, and then used one of the mana to recast Shepherd.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, thank you for the subscription, Stefan.
And then I natural ordered for a Hoofy here, because
Mm-hmm.
why not? They get a Cannoneer.
Not a smart attack by our opponent, by the way, because we have lethal. I
Yeah,
guess it didn't
that makes
matter.
the benefit.
I think the only thing I would say comment about this game here is the sequencing of playing around the Aurora, right? Like I think we wanted to natural order first, and then before casting the hoof is the only thing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think that they would have the Automora already, but I guess it works out.
Yeah, the other thing was I also understand you just kind of like going through the motions there because you're just so far ahead anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've definitely been there, done that. You know what I mean? In terms of like when you're ahead, just kind of like, okay, let's just finish this game.
So they named Symbiote here.
Notably, symbiote actually not that great in this matchup because these stompy shells we want to be fast. It's like nice, but it's not like excellent or anything.
I think I took Shepherd here just because it's.
Yeah, I would definitely take Shepard with that hand.
Oh, just kidding. I didn't do that. I lied.
And the reason for Shepard would be to force things through a potential challenge down the road, and it also what's it called like we can Green Sun the following turn for Collector Oof. I guess we could do that regardless. Although Visionary not a bad top deck, anyways. Oof.
Oh, the Breacha.
So notably here, one thing that does happen is if we draw a Visionary, which we did here, then we cannot collect it with the same turn, which ended up happening. But I think thank you for Stefan. Thanks for the kind words. I think it's good that you realized it here when you got a fresh pair of set eyes, um, to take the Shepherd, right?
Yeah, it definitely could. I realize it now.
I mean, hindsight's also 2020.
But yeah, Visaging out the Saga because that's like the scariest thing they can do against us besides Cannoneer.
Mm-hmm.
And then just followed up with Oofy. Sai is not really a concern. Just really slow clock.
Yeah, I don't think Psy's like ever really beaten me.
We get to Murderous Cut the whole Breacher out and unlock the Visionary Symbiote.
Mm-hmm. Actually, since we're on that topic, a cool line that came up kind of recently was I told you, but for the audience here, is you can actually activate Reclaimer priority on the stack and then kill like an opposition agent. And then, so I got to make that line recently and using the extra card as the extra pitch needed to. So that was like pretty sweet for like Xaxis mana. Did we bounce a Visionary there? I think we did, right?
No, we didn't because
Oh, right, right.
Sir
The
wanted
needle
to
is
do
the
it and
needle's
we
there.
forgot.
I think regardless, we're pretty. I mean, there you go. Yeah.
Yep, he cast. Beat him. Got him.
I think that game was pretty clean. Like off the top of my head, I think the only thing was maybe getting the Shepherd turn one, which you actually, in hindsight, would have made a different play, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Or not even hindsight. With fresh pair of eyes is more like it.
Alright, back into the blue red Delver hell. Here
Might
we go. So this hand is kind of weird. Multiple orders, never really a fan of it, but I mean it's functional, so I kept it.
this hand, yeah, I probably would keep, but it's like kind of sketch for sure. I I really don't want two natural orders in my opening hand. And the bog is like kind of like a half mole, but sometimes can be relevant.
Replays is slowing down a little bit, but I'm gonna try to keep it going here.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, third natural order, hooray!
Might be a
So
daze.
yeah,
Hey, you win 1980. So actually, on that topic of Prime subscription, uh, Stefan, if you want, message me directly, and I'll send you this month's monthly metagame update. That's a new feature that I'm sending out now for anybody who subscribes with for Twitch. So also it's part of the Patreon content. Although I don't include if you subscribe with Twitch my sideboard maps, but you do get access to my metagame update, which I would send up to now. No, 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 no. Thank you, Stefan, for the subscription. And just message me on Discord or whatever. I'll send you the monthly metagame update article. And that applies to anybody who subscribes, whether it be on Prime or whatnot. I just mentioned Prime because it's free with Amazon. So for those of you who don't want to spend money on Patreon,
Okay, so interesting play here that finally happened. So the shepherd's being bolted right now, and in response, I'm flashing an endurance to make sure endurance stays uncoverable, and cleaning up the yard a little bit to kind of slow down the clock.
uh huh. I think that's reasonable given that we can't cast the endurance anytime soon, anyways, and we have too many natural orders. Sure, Stefan. It's really your call. I just kind of go over some of the archetypes and how that affects us, but it's really your call, though, Stefan. Uh, for what it's worth, the metagame is based off of MTG Goldfish. So some of that data obviously is from Moto, but I think MTG Goldfish takes into account a good amount of paper events as well. So essentially, I go over what changes for the top 10 decks according to Goldfish, and the implications to elves. But the former is relevant for anybody, regardless of what deck they play, even if it's not elves. So here we're just kind of like drawing the wrong part of their deck, unfortunately. Which
Yeah,
ha-
I was gonna say this isn't much of a game going on here. I'm trying to get it to move forward a little bit, but it's having some trouble. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reboot my moto before this next game
uh huh.
real quick, just to make sure that kind of clear the cache or whatever. Yeah, so I scoop here just because it's like it's not, you know,
Okay.
it's not going anywhere productive.
Yeah. So in the meantime, while you reboot your computer, um, or are you rebooting your computer or just Moto?
I'm just trying to reboot moto here.
Okay. Might want to not share your password there, by the way. I will. Actually, why don't we stop watching for a second? Yeah, or stop sharing, and then you can bring it back up. And Stefan. Okay. What would be Yeah, if you can message me right now, Stefan, I can send you the article. But if you don't want, that's fine too. Perfect. I'll go ahead and send it to you, and hopefully it's what you think it is. Oops. All right, I just sent it to you, Stefan. I sent you the PDF version, which is like the nicer version. No problem, and hopefully it's worthwhile for you for sure. Uh, the Word document version is more bare bones, but I can also send you that if you want. And yeah, this has been effective actually since beginning of this week. In my previous stream, I commented as well. Any Twitch subscription will get access to my monthly metagame update, which is available on Patreon. It doesn't include obviously the sideboard map, but thank you, I appreciate that, Stefan. So yeah, if you think it's good, you can feel free to vouch for me or just my content. But we'll go ahead and continue watching Curran's great top 8 run here. I think this is round 4, right? That we're on.
Yeah, this is round four. We just lost game one to Blue Red Delver,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going into game two now.
Yeah, I think that game was just us keeping kind of like a borderline hand. I probably would think about mulling, but I think it's reasonable to keep. And then we just drew poorly afterwards. I don't think there's anything there play wise we could have done differently, to be honest.
Yeah, now this hand, however, this hand feels a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely like our beginning hand here, and then uh, I
Okay,
would tempt it to be. I would tempt to lead with Reclaimer, but I think if you suspect Bull, it's reasonable to lead with Shepherd.
oh, that's probably it. Yeah, I probably wanted to like get the bull out of the way.
So this part is tricky, right? Some players, it really depends what you think of your opponent. I guess if you think your opponent is the type to just bolt anything, then yeah, play Shepherd. But if your opponent also is the type to just not respect us, then probably Reclaimer is the play. If it were me, I probably would play the Reclaimer, but I also force our opponent to have the bolt turn one, so to speak, right?
This is cool. I wish the thing would move over a little.
Yeah, so I think given that they didn't do anything, definitely want to play the Reclaimer and play the fetch. If they tap out, we'll probably fetch for the Arbor and then set for a glimpse the following turn. I'm assuming that's your line.
Yep, you are 100% correct.
Yeah, so I definitely make the same play there too. Kind of a cardinal sin, to be honest, from our opponent. Just doing just a ponder turn one instead of threat or bolt, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. And here, just we have a little bit awkward because we didn't draw the another creature. So if it were me, I probably would have held a glimpse. But interesting that's a kind
Well, opponent scoops.
kind of a premature concession, to be honest. I think, but maybe their hand is just like all counter magic or something.
Yeah, I mean, these reclaimers are about to turn into 3/4s in a turn. Like, it's not good.
It's not going to be good for our opponent regardless. Like Reclaimer reads like win target game right against these decks.
Alright, into game three against the Blue Red Menace. Solid hand, land drops.
Yeah, for sure.
Reclaimer endurance, perfect.
I I know both Curran and I have hinted at it, but hitting land drops in this version of the deck is just so important. I cannot stress that enough. And it's why I play an additional land compared to like others.
Right, that once upon a time only had the Birchlore Rangers available as an option. There were no other electable options there, which is pretty funny.
The good thing is that that's gonna be presumably our play anyways. Yeah. I mean, if you're being consistent and playing around the removal, right?
Right, exactly.
Uh huh.
considering endurance is in hand.
So yeah, if I were them, I would probably try to. Ooh, if I were them, I would probably try to just keep digging so that they can Murktide pretty soon. But it seems like whatever they kept on top, they must want, right?
Because they left whatever was surveilling on top for sure.
Yeah, I'd be curious what that is that they kept on top. Maybe it's another threat or Murktide or something. But yeah, again, I would just aggressively bin. Oh, it was probably the submerge.
This guy's still 1-1, like, not really progressing.
Yeah. Again, more reason to, in my opinion, if I'm the opposing player, to bin instead of keep on top.
This is the prayer turn, right? Because, like,
Yeah, yeah. This is the predator where you just clench, right? You hope they don't have the Murktide, so because you can stick the endurance the following turn. All right, that's totally fine.
so endurance does catch a force here.
I think that's okay. They kept on top. You just pray it's not a Murktide. So here we have a couple of live draws to be honest. Like Green Sun or Endurance are both really good. Reclaimer is good too, but then you have to hope their top deck is not nothing relevant. That is probably one of the worst draws that we could have
It's not great.
got.
So, but they're still sitting at 0 in hand. So they're on a top deck here.
I'd be tempted to hold. Actually, it's probably fine because they could just waste and then you draw something relevant, right? There's like some merit to hold the Boseiju there in case they have a cage, but it's pretty narrow still. I think here we have to fire off the glimpse. Wow, that's a hell of a top deck.
Let's go. Clean up the yard.
Yeah, so I think one thing about this deck is knowing when you have to go and when you don't. I think given that we were at 8 and a virtual 5 otherwise, it's time to fire off the glimpse. I hope to get lucky there, which we did.
Yeah, still playing kind of slow here, but we're trucking. So I think if I remember correctly here, I end up zenithing for Grist.
Yeah, I think that's the line I'd probably take too. And you probably just plus, yeah. And then, interesting enough,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll
I
offer
think
the
attacking there
symbiote
is
there for
fine.
trade.
Huh?
Yeah, I offered the symbiote there for trade, I noticed, but I think that was fine.
It wasn't so much the trade. I think trading is fine. I think I'd be a little bit concerned about them turning on Delirium, but I think if they do turn on Delirium, you're still at 5, so it's probably okay. And we get a quicker clock now, right?
Right, right.
Ooh, that's a hell of a draw.
It's more zenith, more fun.
One thing to I will comment on is I think I would have waited to the last step before grist because after you have all your options, so a little bit of a sequencing nitpick. So the reason why I bring that is because I'm a little bit scared of something like bolt into like lethal somehow, and they could. But I guess that you have the reclaimer on board. You can also untap the endurance, which is fine.
And they conceded.
Mhm. But yeah, I think I would be tempted to potentially minus the grist there to play around like some crazy nut draws.
Yeah, I think that my sequencing can definitely be a little bit tighter this
I
time.
think
Like,
on average you're probably okay, but if they have the nuts, you could regret it. And the reason why I mention that is because I've learned from my own mistakes where it's happened to me before where I just like autopilot or like you know auto drive into the that's my dog auto drive into the grist tick up, and I think it might be corrected to tick down actually.
gotcha, gotcha. All right, well, we're going to go into the third blue-red Delver match. This hand, we keep seeing the bog main, or like the bog and opener a lot today, but I think it's still fine because you got Once Upon a Time, you still have Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah, I think it's like not the best, but it's keepable.
All right, so Once Upon a Time, and you see these options. What do you take?
I think I would probably just take the fetch and fetch a basic.
Let's see how we did.
I'm
Hey!
glad everybody's on the same page. Ooh, the aggressive force.
Yeah, pitching Delver's secrets, so you
Th-
already know it's gonna be fun.
I think that tells me under normal circumstances they don't have removal. Like that would be the reason to make that play, and they just want to be ahead on board. Here, the reclaimer being an excellent top deck.
Yeah, and I sequenced it out first exactly because of this play.
No, yeah, I was just gonna mention the sequencing here was tight, and I think something I've mentioned a few times on the Discord is I think the majority of elf losses to Delaware pilots is because of sequencing or improper sequencing, I should say.
Oh my gosh, another daze. I guess I should have Green Sun for one first before the bog here.
Yeah, yeah. So a little bit
Yeah,
on sequencing there too, where like
yeah.
I definitely think you want to bog last so you get the extra card, right?
Guess I just didn't see the second daze coming.
Depending what we draw here, might be a once upon a time that we need. Yeah.
Yeah, and I grabbed a land. I'm
Yikes!
dazed, dude.
It's days for days.
It's so wild having like three lands out and still. Oh yeah, they bolted my face there. I think.
That's kind of a strange play, to be honest. My guess is you probably lost this game one, right?
As I recall, it looks like this is the one I lose. Yeah, I think they actually were tied here post combat, if I recall correctly.
I think yeah, based on this board state, I would say we're
Oh,
behind is the
no.
reason.
I guess they don't work tied, but yeah, I still think that this is definitely the game I lose. Oh, but we want to try so hard.
So three, yeah, a land. Okay, there you go.
Yep, there it is. Okay. All these battle decks against Delver, man.
No, I think the most impressive part, to be honest, from what I've seen so far, is you didn't lose your composure, which I like. I think we lost like three
Yeah,
game ones already to Delver and won all the post board games.
this hand might be is looks pretty sketchy. I guess it's got the land drops, which is why I kept it.
I would probably keep because of the land drops, yeah. And I think I'd probably lead with the Boseiju on the Heritage. Yeah, it looks like you're making that play. Oh.
Oh no, I went for the defeated.
So my logic for making that play is because we're a little bit flooded, right?
Sure.
And the Heritage doesn't do anything for a while. Oof, that's really annoying.
So, looking back on this, it's interesting. I guess I did this on turn two because the Arbor may have been a known entity. I could have fetched and snuffed out, right?
You could have, yeah. I think though, in general, we want to save the snuff outs and the murderous cuts for the Merc types, if possible.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking now. But sometimes
Especially if we get the
the
bog, I
cards.
think it might be okay. It really depends, like how. Okay, yeah. So here, I think the bog has to come down now.
I think I'm going to end up agreeing with you here. Man, this game is not looking great, but I guess we're going for a stuff out here to try to slow things down a little bit.
Ye- yeah, it's kind of tough
Even
because
though
because two
I just enabled it,
because two
but
DRCs is kind of
it's
rough.
so floppy.
I think the thing that set you back a lot this game is the turn one not playing the heritage.
I'm like, I'm like kind of confused because it's turned and things look really, really bad.
Yeah, it does look pretty bad. So again, kudos to you for not losing composure, right? We're at seven.
Uh, Part of me thinks I grab Visionary here, but part of me also thinks I grab Reclaimer. It's definitely not Grist, I don't think.
Um, I feel like it's probably. Did you play a land drop yet or no?
I haven't made my land drop yet.
I probably think you play the Visionary and just try to dig for the endurance. Is my guess. Yeah, that seems like the wrong play from our opponent.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that.
Like if you're gonna bolt, you either bolt upstairs or you hit the Dryad Arbor. Green Sun being super clutch here. Also, notably, we are at the magic number of 4 instead of 3. Clutch. That is very clutch.
Wow. Just rewatching that game gave me so much anxiety.
So,
Holy
so
crap.
So one thing I will say that is very important is you heads up, not fetch, stayed at 4 instead of being greedy with a glimpse, right? The other thing I will say though is, and maybe it's okay, is you took a calculated risk to increase your clock by attacking with the endurance. That can backfire, but I think given that they only had 2 cards in hand, didn't do anything, may be okay. You know what I mean? In
Yeah, I
case
guess I did take a pretty big risk there.
you took a calculated risk that they wouldn't be able to turn on delirium.
Yeah, I think that's the bet I was playing, and it worked out for me that time.
Yeah, one thing is like I think an art in terms of like this matchup is knowing when to be aggressive, and the extra points of damage can often be the difference in this kind of race where it's like tribal 3 power on both sides, right? Trying to get there.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. The swing can be pretty
So
ridiculous,
I think you played it really well, to be honest. The only thing I would have done differently, like I said, is I would not have Green Sun for 0 on turn 1 because of our hand. But I think that aside, you played very well there.
nice. Well, let's see what happens here in game three.
And the big thing that I'm very happy to see is yeah, you didn't fetch when you didn't need to, right? Instead of being greedy.
Exactly. Stay at four. Stay at four.
Ex-
Yeah. This hand's dope.
yeah, this hand is pretty strong to be honest. I think here I just green sun for 0. Yeah, especially after drawing the top deck glimpse. What that does is it forces the action on the opponent.
Interesting. I wonder what I did here. What would you do here?
I think if it were me, they have blue mana up. I'd probably play the force for sure, and then given that we have the glimpse in hand, I think I'd probably go Shepherd into Green Sun for 0.
Well, I almost did the right thing. Okay, so interestingly enough, the only thing I did was add a step by birch luring, but still green sun for zero and set up. So I guess I'm missing a body as far as like my potential glimpse next turn,
Uh
but
huh.
I'm also solidifying a little bit more mana presence.
I think I think if I were gonna do the mana presence, I would have probably just played the Reclaimer because this board state is weak to end the festivities.
That's true. Yeah, the end of the festivities here would have been an actual nightmare.
Yeah. So the second best line I think is I I would have not played the Green Sun and probably just played the Reclaimer, right? If you like, I think your other line is pretty reasonable, but I probably wouldn't just swap the order. You know what I mean? But if it were me, I probably would have played the shepherd in and into the green sun.
Oh, this is gross.
Yeah, this is definitely gross. Now they tapped out more or less, and then you can just kind of go bananas.
I'm gonna let it play out. Auto style here. Yeah.
So this is like one of the best feelings I think when playing elves. When your opponent has tapped out and you have like a glimpse of nature in hand, right? Again, we're kind of going through the glimpse sequencing pretty quickly because uh, that's the kind of thing I expect players to just work out on their own because you have gold fishing, right? You don't even need an opponent. Um, Curran and I have talked about this a few times where I think a lot of elf players could use the extra practice gold fishing because, in my opinion, the level of proficiency you need with this deck has to be at a point where you don't really need to think when you're glimpsing because that should be something you can do in your sleep, so to speak.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, I remember how this game ended now. Yeah, so they threw a bolt at Heritage Druid, and I was clicking through the responses to just use the VM to return it,
Uh
and they shame conceded.
huh. That's pretty funny. Yeah. So I was just gonna say, yeah, that you don't want to throw. I mean, they're pretty behind. Or like unless they can answer the grist this turn, they've pretty much lost. Like they needed to end the festivities exactly
Yeah,
this turn.
yeah. It was just pretty much game over for them for sure. All right, on to the fourth and final blue-red Delver matchup for the Swiss. Oh yeah, against good old Slasher, who I haven't seen you in a while. Cute. So I'm gonna be real with you. I kept this hand because the last time Slasher and I played, they were on 8 cast.
Mm. I was just gonna say this hand doesn't look great, but honestly, I probably would keep anyways because I keep most hands. I didn't see your options there, but I'm Visionary is likely to be probably the best one, even without seeing it.
If you want to go back and look at that once upon a time, I can prove that as well.
So big thing here is I'm all about the deck thinning, and I know I've corrupted or showed Curran the way as well. Yeah, I think on this board state, I probably take the Visionary too.
Yeah, just because we're green setting for 0 here on turn one, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, so many times you've been like, fetch first before you once upon a time. I know exactly what you mean.
Not only does it deck thin, it also makes that your reclaimers are bigger earlier. They grow up so fast, right? All right, I think probably Visionary into Collector Loop maybe.
I'll probably hit that. Not really sure.
Yeah, we notably are short of mana, but not the end of the world. But yeah, I definitely would have ran the collector, the cradle out, given that what's it called, given that ooh. So here a little bit of sequencing thing. I think I would have played the cradle actually, and then just like played everything out, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I just took the visionaries because they replaced themselves, and
We know there's no sweepers game one, and I think the tempo in just trying to race them is just more important. Yeah.
am I getting concession here?
We're just too far ahead here.
All right, so we didn't lose game one there, which is new.
Hmm.
Which means we lose game two in a fashionable way, I'm sure.
I
Let's
think
find
the
out.
other game ones that we've lost, I think one of them we probably misplayed, and one I don't think there was anything we could have done about. That was the natural order, and I can't remember the third one. What happened?
Right, right.
So I actually would have mulled his hand, by the way.
Why go with the land heavy hand?
It's a little. It's one too many, unfortunately. With five, and the
We have
one.
six.
So the heritage druid is also not a great draw for what it's worth on this board, at least.
I guess the theme of the day today has been just like trying to bait the outlaw.
Say that again. I didn't catch that. What did you say was the theme of the day?
Uh, Baiting out using the elf that doesn't matter to like try to catch the bull
For
with
sure, for sure.
reclaimer. Okay, so at the festivities, depending on what this is, like the heritage druid.
So I would have fetched there, by the way,
Oh, okay.
because it's still two swings after the end of the festivities. I mean, we're pretty behind already, though.
Yep. Didn't draw out, so we lose this game.
I think the hand that they had was pretty good. I think the game was really lost on not mulling that opening seven.
Yeah, it does look. Yeah, heritage druid is just not good enough.
Right. I mean, there's times where I'll keep the five land hand if like the other two cards are like reclaimer or something. But I don't think they're given that one of them was heritage. This hand is quite solid, I think.
Yeah, we end up keeping this one for sure.
Awkward to not have a turn one play though. I think I would not have fetched out the Dryad Arbor because if your opponent has submerged, you probably just lose the game or any removal. On the bright
I think we
side,
got kind of lucky in that regard.
say that again.
I think we got lucky here for sure.
On the bright side, though, yeah, Reclaimer's already a 3/4, so win target game, right? I think we have to bog here.
Guess I was not concerned.
Well, I guess the other thing is we do have the murderous cut, so might be okay. Yeah, I the one thing that is nice about having the murderous cut there is it allowed us to aggressively get the cradle, which allows us to play offense earlier. And then yeah, 3/4 tribal getting in there. Nice.
Ulted the Reclaimer, I guess trying to find another removal spell, and then ended up, yeah, they conceded after that. So, yeah, that's the fourth W for Red Velvet.
Yeah, I think you played real well there. I think the only thing I would say is like there's a few spots where maybe you can I guess remove the risk. For instance, what I mean by that is like when you fetch for the arbor, that was I didn't feel like that was necessary at the time on that game. So potentially we could fall too far behind. But that aside, I think your overall play was like pretty strong, right?
Yeah, I think the Arbor definitely was a lot favorable in the deck, that for sure. I'm not sure if you want to watch the quarterfinals
Your
Enchantress.
call. Like, what's it called? We can either watch it or like, if you want, we can just like run through even a league together right now if you want.
I do actually have some taken to get to in about 20 minutes, but I wanted to make sure that we covered the Red Velvet matchups really quick.
For sure. So I think if you have to leave pretty soon, anyways, yeah, we can. Why don't we just cover the last Enchantress matchup just for completeness, I guess.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I'm here anyway. Got it set up. Had the bull there. Triple once upon a time. My god. But yeah, so our opponent did mold a 4 here, though.
Oh wow. Did the once not hit see a land?
We did not see a land off the once. I remember that specifically.
Oh, that's brutal. I think I would have played the Baseju there.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of held it because it is Enchantress.
Yeah,
But
I personally probably would have played the Baseju and played the Reclaimer. And the reasoning for that is because we really don't want to miss land drops the first 3 turns.
and using the Masaju on the Enchantress's presence can stop them from drawing anything relevant.
Yeah, I think given that we have saved the Baseju, it's fine to use it now on the Enchantress.
That's how we got game one.
Nice.
So no Archon in the 75 to save me as far as the post-board games.
Was the opening 7 no lander? I didn't see.
Yeah, opening 7 had no lands.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is kind of an awkward. You never want like triple glimpse.
I did board in Mind Break Trap here.
I probably would not have if it were me, to be honest, for this matchup. Only because it's kind of reactive, and the longer game actually favors them, in my opinion. Ooh.
Trying to set up for the best glimpse available.
Mm-hmm. Notably, though, because we drew 2 Mindbird traps, the Archon would not have saved us here. Because one of those cards would have been the Archon.
True. This is dirty.
That is definitely dirty. Wait, I'm confused. Why did you fire out the glimpse?
I think I just like given up in my soul because I'm like, rest in peace, Reclaimer's never coming online again. Engineered play, the world's over.
I mean, we probably lost anyways, to be fair, but yeah,
Oh yeah, there's the hell. GG.
yeah. So it didn't matter. I don't think I would have boarded in Thoughtseize against them, by the way. And I
I mean,
probably would have
I
mulled his
probably
hand.
just grossly overboarded against them at this point.
You might have, and also I probably would have mulled because we don't have a second land drop and no way to make mana.
I took the Argothian Enchantress, but they still have another Enchantress followed by a Solitary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here I think kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a long tournament. Sometimes you get tired, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't the saddest losing to this deck because I'm like, man, Enchantress made top 8 in this friggin' blue red Delver cornucopia field. Good for them.
Yeah. So heads up play here, by the way, just like cycling the glimpse because we didn't get going, so to speak. Here notably, okay, they have the confinement now.
Yeah, and it's protected by Sterling Grove's Shroud, so
Yeah, so
it's
I think we
probably pretty
probably are
safe.
just dead here. I think the big takeaway here is fatigue is a thing, right? Like I think if you had looked carefully at that first seven, you probably would have mulled again because you're down to you don't have a second land and you don't have a green sun to accelerate, so it's kind of a pretty weak opening seven. And I think overboarding for a matchup that I think we didn't necessarily need to. Like they tend to be
Definitely a
slower
lot
than
of
us.
fatigue things that came into play here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think given that they had the confinement and the enchantress already, it's probably game over. The out would have been Archon, obviously, so that they can't cast any more spells.
Yeah. I think, yeah, this will probably the turnaround of Snookums because they have so much mana and so many draws per spell.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of insurmountable at this point. I'm gonna go draw a million cards, yeah.
Yeah, the cage is kind
Cage
of the nail in the
begun, I'm
coffin.
just like, alright, I'm done.
No,
I've had enough.
I don't blame you for that. Like, yeah, we're pretty behind.
But yeah, so Blue Red Delver, just a lot of, I guess, make your land drops, sequence correctly, and just kind of you kind of have to soul read when it's time to go for the graveyard. If like you think a Murktide is coming, or you need to interact with Darcy. I don't know. Yeah. Thoughts? Closing thoughts on that? I guess.
Um, First of all, thank you, Dursty, for the Patreon subscription. Secondly, uh, my after watching your entire run, I think um, there's a few takeaways, right? I think uh, there were a few spots that you left yourself a little bit vulnerable in case they had the sweeper. Um, but overall, I think your play was very nice. The only thing is, and this happens to me, of course, as well. Especially in that Enchantress matchup where it was later in the event already, right? Fatigue kicking in, and then just trying to try not to get sloppy with the sequencing when you're tired. So obviously we got a little bit punished in the top eight, but I think your overall play and heuristics were strong. And then there were times where like I think for instance you mentioned it where you should have played your first spell before making the land drop for bog. So things like that I think are easy to clean up because they tend to be you can autopilot after a certain point once you become familiar with the play pattern, so to speak, right? So those are my main thoughts. I think. What are your big takeaways after having watched this? I think for the first time, probably, right?
Yeah, this was my first time reviewing it after playing it out. I think that, like, again, there were a few times where I was like, oh yeah, do this, and then, like, I ended up, like, doing something else, probably just continuing needing to slow down as far as, like, making, making clutch decisions, or opening decisions that, that the pace of the rest of the game. Um, but I don't know. Like, I think that a lot of it was clean enough, and I'm still really happy with how those games went in general. There were definitely some times where it was just like, oh yeah, that was perfect, or like that was the best thing you could have done in that situation. So I don't know. I'm happy with it overall for sure.
No, I think I would agree with your sentiments. Like, I think overall you played very well. I think like your number of high points. I guess that's probably the best way I can I can allude to it, right, or reference it. Your high points were definitely pretty flawless. Like when you were sharp, it definitely showed. And I think when you weren't, luckily those times either were unpunished or they were at a point in the game where you were already ahead. I think yeah, I definitely remember one game you're already well ahead, so the natural tendency is to get a little bit sloppy, right? So I think that's something that is easily managed, and I sometimes not even necessary when you're so far ahead. But I'm not too concerned about that, and I think overall you played really well, to be honest.
Thanks. That means a lot coming from the Rockets scientist that designed this deck. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be streaming it tomorrow as well for the challenge. If you guys want to check that out at Testacular Moto on Twitch. So I'll be live and doing that tomorrow.
Okay,
So
I'll go ahead and post your stream here on the Twitch chat so everybody has access to it. Also, like, if you're in my Discord, there's also automatic notifications whenever Curran streams. So there's that as well. So make sure to check out um, Curran stream tomorrow at Testacular Moto on Twitch. I think the final takeaway is um, the Archon definitely. I think there's a good merit for sure. Good merits for it to be in the 75 because I think it gives. It makes natural order a one card win, right?
yeah, it does. It makes it a one card win, and also it's a win and it's a lock piece in certain matchups, even if those matchups are few and far between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think right now Curran and I are on the same 75 for the what that's worth, and that essentially is the same list from this event. Let me actually post that here.
Oh, did we do this entire stream without your audience being able to hear me at all?
I mean, I hope that's not the case. Nobody else has mentioned anything before, so that's why I'm kind of surprised. One
Yeah,
second.
me too. I'm a little bit surprised by that.
So here, I'll post it here on the Twitch chat. But this was the list that Kieran ran, and or sorry, it's Curran, right?
Yeah, Curran.
Yeah, Curran ran, and then right now we're playing both on the same 75, but take out the two mind break traps and add in an Archon and crop rotation. So that's more or less our list at the moment. Obviously subject to change, but I think that is the best overall list at the moment. And if that means we lose some points to the Epic Gamble or the Epic Storm, then so be it, right?
Right, right, exactly.
With that said, I'm wondering if I should play a league or I think you said you have to go pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna hop off here, and I got a cube draft to get to.
Okay.
Yeah, if you end up playing a league, I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna go since this is a good cutoff point and since this is just a review stream, I'll go ahead and sign off and I may just play a oh that's unfortunate. I may just play a stream later tonight as well. Given that this is a good cutoff point. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have our audience hear what Curran was saying. I'll make sure to change the settings next time because it wasn't mentioned earlier, so I didn't think that there was an issue. But
Yeah, I didn't think there was an issue either, but oh well, that's too bad. At least people saw the games and they got the feedback.
yeah, I think the good thing is at least also it was very contextual because we had the stream on. So I think luckily we'll have you know we'll be able to whoever watches in the future can probably get a good idea regardless, even if they weren't able to hear everything you said.
All right, well, I will sign off then and let you get to it. But thanks again for having me and hosting.
All right, awesome, man. Awesome. Congrats on the great run on the top 8 again, and then we'll definitely run this back sooner than later.
Yeah, dude, that sounds good. Thanks again,
All right,
and
take
we'll talk to you later.
for sure. Take care. I think what we'll do now is one second. I think what we'll do now is this is probably a good stopping point, and then I'll go raid the NRG series, and then maybe tonight I have tonight free, so maybe I'll stream a league later tonight. Let's just say 6 o'clock Pacific time or so. But yeah, thank you everybody for checking out the top 8 run by Testacular from last week. And then in the meantime, here are my socials, and then I'll go ahead and raid the NRG series.